Aseptic technique. The transfer of an inoculum from one media to another without the introduction of contamination. The first step in aseptic technique is lighting the Bunsen burner. To light the Bunsen burner, turn on the gas and using a striker, hold it directly above the burner, create a spark which will light the flame. Use the knob at the bottom of the Bunsen burner to adjust the flame to a low blue. You should not wear gloves when lighting the Bunsen burner. Inoculation of a plate from a broth culture. The first step is to sterilize the inoculating loop. Run the loop slowly through the flame until the wire and the loop are a glowing red. Then allow the loop to sit for about 10 seconds to cool. Open the broth by removing the cap with your loop hand. Run the mouth of the tube through the flame and carefully obtain your inoculum. Run the mouth through the flame one more time and replace the cap. Carefully lift the lid and gently inoculate the plate. When inoculating a plate, the loop should rest gently on the surface of the agar and should not penetrate the surface. Replace the lid. Sterilize the loop. Inoculation of a broth from a slant or a plate. Sterilize the loop as you did before. Both the wire and the loop should be a glowing red. Allow the loop to cool. Gather your culture, remove the cap with your loop hand, run the mouth of the tube through the flame, and carefully obtain the inoculum. When obtaining bacteria from a slant, the entire wire and loop should be inserted into the tube and a small amount of bacteria should be scraped off the surface. Bacteria may also be obtained from a plate. Carefully lift the lid, gently scrape across the surface of the plate to obtain a small amount of bacteria. Gather the broth, remove the cap, flame the mouth of the tube and insert the bacteria. Tap the loop a few times against the side of the tube, then flame the mouth and replace the cap. When completed, you should then sterilize the loop. Stab inoculation. In a stab inoculation, a needle will be used to obtain bacteria instead of a loop. The same procedure should be used. The needle should be carefully inserted into the solid agar. Common mistakes to be avoided. Gloves should never be worn when lighting a Bunsen burner. Gloves can easily catch fire and cause second and third degree burns. When obtaining bacteria, always be sure to sterilize the inoculating loop first. By not sterilizing the inoculating loop, contamination will be introduced into the culture you are obtaining bacteria from, as well as the culture that you are going to be inoculating. You should also be sure to flame the mouth of the tube prior to inserting bacteria. This ensures that any contaminants that may be at the mouth of the tube will not be introduced into the media. When inoculating solid media, do not place the lid on the table. Also, you should be gentle with the loop when inoculating and not gouge the agar. The loop should not penetrate the surface. This applies for both plates and slants. Here, agar is shown on the end of a loop. Let's review proper aseptic technique. The loop or needle to be used should be sterilized. Remember, you want this loop to be a glowing red. The loop should always be allowed to cool before obtaining bacteria. When handling tubes, the cap should always remain in the loop hand. The mouth of the tube should always be flamed before and after obtaining or inoculating. Plate lids should never be set on the table and the agar should never be gouged. When completed with the inoculation, the loop should always be sterilized a second time. Proper aseptic technique is critical to success in the microbiology laboratory and should be the first skill that is mastered.